Radio.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls. Welcome to the Best of Beaver County, presented by St. Barnabas, a weekly segment dedicated to putting the focus on the amazing things and the amazing people behind them in Beaver County. The Best of Beaver County is sponsored by and content is provided by St. Barnabas. The show airs every Thursday from 11 to 11:30 on WBVP, WMBA, 99.3 FM, and Facebook Live. Now, with no further ado, let's welcome host Mike Romai to introduce today's program.
And welcome to the Best of Beaver County radio show on the St. Barnabas Radio Network. I'm Mike Romai, and each Thursday we get together to talk about what's happening in Beaver County with some of the people who are making a difference to the livelihood of Beaver County and the surrounding area. Our entire region is what we encompass, and so we'd like to talk with people who are doing great things in Beaver County and notable things around the area. Clint Kurtika is one of those people. Hold up your book, Clint. See right there on there. There it is. Dead Adrenaline. Clinton is the author of that book. Came out about 6 months ago or longer than that?
June
Clint?
of 2023.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
just
good.
last year, and it was published then. It's on Amazon now for sale. Little green bookstore, they're selling it. It's doing pretty good. It's moving along.
All right.
Yeah.
We're here, and as we do on this program, The Best of Beaver County, we talk about the individuals. So we'd like to find out a little bit about yourself. You New Brighton native?
Yes, I graduated from New Brighton. Let me just frame it like this,
Okay.
Mike. Back in 1969, the year I was born in Rochester Hospital. If you remember that hospital,
remember when it
doesn't
was
even
hospital.
exist
Yeah,
anymore.
right.
Obviously, I grew up in Beaver County. I grew up in New Brighton. As a kid, I always loved, movies. I loved thinking about stories, writing about stories. I never really had the tools probably back then to do it, but I always enjoyed it. Ended up graduating from New Brighton High School in 1989. Moved on from there, and I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. I said, maybe I'll go and do this. Maybe I'll go and do that. I just kind of pondered it, and I always liked special effects and movies and things of that sort. So I thought about the Art Institute. I thought about special effects schools, but I never did it. I said, I need to get something a little more stable. So what ended up happening was, I worked odd jobs and did what I needed to do. And at one point I said, you know what, maybe I'll go to Community College of Beaver County. So I ended up going there. And at the time, back then, I was trying to get into the police academy there, the Act 120. There's a waiting list. Like unlike now, you can get in right, snap your fingers, you can go right to the academy. So I waited. I said, well, while I'm waiting, I'm going to get my criminal justice degree, my police technology degree at community college. So while I was doing that, I said, okay, we'll see when this opens up where I can get on that list for the academy. Well, finally I did. And at that point, I already had my other degrees. So it worked out. It kind of fell right in line. So I graduated from the academy, and it took me almost a year to get even a part-time job as a police officer in Beaver County, which is not like today. You could go anywhere actually to get one because they need cops. So I ended up finally getting hired in a place called Potter Township.
Oh, sure.
They used to have their own police department before Center Township took them over.
Right.
So
Tough days financially, budget-wise, and those sort of things.
yeah, it shut it down. And so I worked Potter, then I got hired in Beaver. And then when I was in Beaver working, the hours weren't great. They want to give you hours, how it goes sometimes. So I'm like, I need to pick something else.
Low man on the totem pole type
Yeah,
things.
pretty much.
Yeah.
They never scheduled it, So I was working Potter and Beaver. So then I ended up getting hired in Ambridge. And I worked there for about 4.5 years. And I was on that, 39 and a half hour thing where they didn't give you 40, so you wouldn't get full time. Because part time was all it was. It was hard to get full time.
Yeah.
So Mayor Karagaris back in the day.
I remember him. Yeah.
I worked out of the old Ambridge Police Department building. It was like Hill Street Blues. When you walked in, you saw that podium up there, and a sergeant that ran the dispatch. It was
Be careful out there.
Yeah, it was rough,
Well, I know Ambridge. We used to work in Ambridge when this station was in Ambridge. And just last week, we had Mike McCullich on. You probably know Mike. He was a councilman for a long time.
Yep. I don't know if he remembers me, but I remember him. He was probably part of my hiring process back in the day.
And that's one of the things that's been difficult for communities hiring police officers is the pay is not that great. And the risks, you just never know what you're walking into.
Well, it's exactly true. When I started in Potter Township, I was making $5.15 an hour.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was carrying a 686 Smith & Wesson on my hip, and I thought, maybe I should rethink this. But I didn't. I continued on. So and what ended up happening was Ambridge kind of ran its course, and I went to Monaca PD. And at the time, I had taken a test for full-time civil service through Rochester Borough. Mm-hmm. So I was working Rochester Borough in Monaca. Then I ended up working at 39 and a half hours in Rochester.
Is that what they do, huh?
Yeah.
Really?
And then Les Fraser, who was the chief at the time, good guy.
Yeah.
He said, you're on that list. You scored well. Let's, see if we can get you full-time. It's still an active list. Well, I got full-time. So I worked there 2.5 years. So I ended up having a total of 7 years local, different departments, and a couple Rochester full-time.
Yeah.
What ended up happening in that time, the state police at that time was still going on. And I had taken the test a couple times, and I got on the list. Never had an opportunity to get called or whatever. They just never got low enough on the list. However, they did it at the time. So I kind of aged out, because if you were older than 30, you couldn't take the test anymore. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to do local, or I'll do something else. What ended up happening is they raised the age to 40. So I'm like, let me give it one more try. And I was 32 at the time.
Right. Okay.
So I was considerably older than most guys going into the academy. I got in. I took the test. I scored well enough. I didn't have any military points, but it was a high enough score. I got on the list. We were Schweikers 100.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually wasn't 100. Yeah. I don't think that went in, but we were that group that they wanted to, build up the state police with more manpower. Mm-hmm. So I ended up doing that, and I graduated from the academy. It was like 6.5 months, and I went to Uniontown.
Okay.
Yeah, Fayette.
So you've been in Beaver County all that time, and then you took off for Uniontown.
Yeah. So
what was the difference?
There was a difference, but I think I got a little bit of well-roundedness from working. Potter had its little bit of issues. Beaver was Beaver, but Ambridge was busy. It had.
I was going to say, Beaver doesn't have any problems, do they?
Right. I think they have more problems now.
Yeah.
Beaver's a lot more busier.
We just don't hear about them.
Yes, exactly. It's changed probably over the time, but so. Being that I worked some of those other places kind of helped me, but I will say Uniontown was a combination of you had mountain, you had city, and when they met, it was never good. It was a bad mix.
Yeah.
So I worked there, and lucky for me, I worked there only 1 year. In fact, it was funny, when I got to that barracks, the first thing that the station commander asked me was, who wants to stay? If you don't want to stay, don't raise your hand. And nobody raised their hand. Because everybody wants to get closer to home, right?
Yeah, right.
So I put my card in when I was eligible to. And lucky for me, for whatever reason, the gods were smiling. I went right to Beaver County to the Brighton Barracks.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at all my police time that I've worked, it's over 29 years now, because I just hit 22 years this past January with the state police. And I've only worked out of Beaver County 1 year. All my other police time was in Beaver County. So people may know me, some people may not know me, but I'm known enough, So I've been in Beaver County a long time doing police work.
What is the difference between being a state trooper and being a local law enforcement officer?
There's a lot of similarities, obviously. There's a lot of good local departments out there. There's a lot of good chiefs, a lot of good guys that work, and the state police is more of a bigger organization, one of the largest, So I think we have a lot more resources. If something goes down, boom, snap of a finger, we got the manpower, we got the resources. We have a lot of avenues and specialized people that can come in and help and assist in any investigation. So that's the big difference. And there's a lot of academies where you go and it might be long term, but not too many of them are 6 months where you're there, you live there. You don't get to come home unless you get lucky enough to get a weekend off.
Yeah.
So and the training is a lot more rigorous, in my opinion, from doing both.
People would say, and we ask us a lot, why would you even want to do that job? I mean, as a local police officer, the pay is lousy.
Right.
The respect, it depends on what community you're in, and even with the elected officials there. Why do it? Why get into it?
Well, the answer that everybody says is because they do it because they want to help people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's 100% true. You definitely have to have something in your soul that says, hey, I want to help people. But I'll say this, a lot of the people we help are the people we arrest. So it's a little bit of a combo there. Like the good people, not to say good people don't call the police, because they do. Mm-hmm. And not to say good people don't use the police, because they do. And that's when you really like your job, because you're helping an actual person that deserves to be helped. But even the bad people deserve to be helped. But they're the ones that call. 1 minute you're arresting somebody because they did something to them. The next minute you're arresting them because they did something to that person.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a back and forth. So you have to have a tough skin and just be able to realize, it's not what you think it is until you do it.
Yeah. So it's not like we do in this business where you say, "What are you doing?" Or are you serious about this? You have to be professional, and even though you may have inner beliefs, feelings about this particular person, you have to remain professional.
You have to do the right thing no matter what. It is what it is. I mean, sometimes people get upset, but you got to be able to focus and say, "Hey, listen, I'm going to go out there and do my job." And I always, I've said this before, I act as if I'm being videoed at all times, but it's not that hard for me because what you're going to see me on video is generally what you're going to see off video, minus a few spare words that I might throw out there because that's normal.
Sure.
That keeps it real, and I appreciate people that do that because that shows that you're human. You're human. You're not like somebody just getting out there pretending to be something you're not, which is fantastic.
You were talking about all the different communities that you worked in. You worked in Monaca for a while. We had a guy on here not too long ago. He was a cop in Monaca. Al Schaefer, Al's
Al.
Pizza.
I know Al. He opened a pizza place.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
We had Al on here, and we're thinking about the job and how difficult and how risky the job is, going out on what the community members would think is just a normal traffic violation or a traffic stop, routine traffic stop. He got shot in, and so there is, from your perspective and the police perspective, there is no routine traffic stop.
Never is. Yeah. You got to treat everyone that it could be a serious situation. I mean, it could go south real quick, and usually it's going to happen when you least expect it. It'll be a situation that you don't think is going to go down in a bad way, and all of a sudden, boom, 0 to 60, it changes. All the guys out there, that have been involved in shootings, they know this. They know that better than any of us.
You're pulling over a state trooper. You might pull over a car on 376, and you don't know who you're walking up to.
You don't.
Or what they have in the car with them.
Right. It's dangerous. I mean, and I do quite a bit of those stops. So you got to be ready. You got to pay attention. You always look at their hands and make sure that they're looking at you and things are going the way it should go. But you always got to look for the stuff that isn't obvious.
Yeah. You've been in the business for 29 years, you said.
Yes.
State trooper for 29 years.
Well, I've been a local for 7 and then 22 years plus as a state.
Have you noticed a change in the citizenry over those 29 years? Have you noticed the attitudes of the people change when they're dealing with state troopers or local police?
Yeah, I mean, you see it throughout the years. I mean, when I got on this job, it's different from what's going on now in society. But, things change. There's pressures in the world that we didn't probably have back then. Mm-hmm. So people have a different perspective towards police. I will say this. For all the people out there that don't like police, there's so many that do. You know what I mean? There's always that balance. And I always say balance is everything. If you don't have that, you don't have nothing. Yeah. So, you're obviously going to be around people that aren't going to like you. And, you try to be respectful and do what you got to do so you can do your job. But, the good people out there, kudos to them because those are the ones that, we really appreciate because we know they appreciate us.
Yeah. I just saw on the news overnight that police officers in New York City got jumped by about, 8 guys who are in the country. They're not legal residents of the country, but police officers getting jumped. So there's always that risk out there.
You got to be careful. You have to have eyes on the back of your head, and always have try to have your backup with you. You can do it yourself to a certain extent, but you always got to rely on your men you work with.
When I was growing up, probably you the same thing. Police officers used to travel together in a squad car. Always 2 in a squad car when they rolled up.
True.
Now we see one person in one car, and you get backup from maybe within the community, but also in the area. They're all responding to that call. Is that to back you up?
Yeah, a lot of times, whether it's called in or they're just, showing up at the same time or they know the call is going on and stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes you ride with ride with somebody, sometimes you don't, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah. This ain't Mayberry, though.
No,
this ain't Mayberry.
It's not Mayberry. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're not Don Knox.
So you don't even have a top pocket. You couldn't put your bullet in there.
Exactly. Anyways, so I did police work, right? So in the interim, I'm working at the state police, and I'm thinking, I'd like to get my daughter back into martial arts, and during that time, before I went into state police, I got married to my wife, Kim, and I had a daughter and I had a son.
Okay.
Daughter's 17 now, son's 13.
Can we pick it up? We have to take a short break
Yes.
here. Then we'll pick it up. Our guest is Clint Kurtika. He is an author. He's a state trooper, and he's our guest on the Best of Beaver County.
Oh my goodness, Amy, it's so good to see you.
Jennifer, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Is your mom doing any better?
Thank you for asking. I don't know if I can answer without being emotional. I'm sorry. I'm just tired and worried. I can't always be there for her, and it's so stressful.
I really understand. That's how I was with my dad. I'd recommend calling St. Barnabas. We did. We started with just having them come in for home care. He was so excited to see them show up. And when he needed more, we were able to move him in at Beaver Meadows, where he still has his own home-like space and excellent care.
Thanks for telling me that. I don't even know how to start, but I have to do something.
Oh, you can just give St. Barnabas a call. They have directors that can explain how it all works. Trust me, you'll feel so much better, and so will your mom.
I'm so glad I ran into you.
Visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com or call 724-443-0700 for care apart from the ordinary.
Clint Kurtika is our guest. He is an author and a state trooper, a family man from Beaver County. He grew up and went to high school in New Brighton, and he's been all over the county as a local police officer, and then went to the academy, passed the test, and became a state trooper. As we took our break, Clint, you were talking about your family.
Yes.
It was a question I was going to ask because of the dangers inherent in the position. What does your family think? Would they like you to get out of it? I'm sure they support you, but
yeah, I'm on the countdown now. I mean, I have less than 3, so yeah, everybody's
Okay.
anxious for me to get out. I'm anxious to get out. I would like to retire soon and do other things like write a book.
Right.
So,
you were telling us about your daughter and martial arts.
yeah, so what happened is like I said, I married my wife Kim back in '97 and had a daughter. Took a little time, but we had a daughter. It was like 7 years later, I believe, and then had a son. And my daughter, she wanted to get into martial arts, and I had started studying martial arts when I was 14. So I ended up acquiring a black belt in Taekwondo. But I said, you're getting a little rusty. You're not doing it. You're not going to the school and training like you should.
Doesn't
and
have that discipline. Huh?
Yeah, not the discipline, and you're not training all the time. And then I tried other schools and different things. Never found that fit. Well, I stumbled on a place called One Strike Karate, and One Strike Karate was different because they mixed in the non-traditional with the traditional, which I loved. So, you always looking at the long established, which is the traditional, and the modern, which is the non-traditional. So I got my daughter involved. In the interim, I met a guy by Master Grant A. Miller, and he started training me because I told him about my past in martial arts. I did judo and taekwondo, and he's like, oh. So he had a vast knowledge of different styles. Long story short, started training there at One Strike, ended up acquiring a 4th degree in Shotokan, and I got a black belt in Hapkido and got some rank in some other styles. Grant A. Miller was part of that. And he asked me to be one of his instructors down there because he was moving to South Carolina. And I said, okay, sounds like a plan. So it was me and another guy, Master Dan, who were teaching together, but Dan retired. Long story short, ended up training there, teaching there. The school is still open in Monaca right now. I do it because I love it. It's not about making money. It's about just doing it because you love it. The difference between our schools and other schools, in my opinion, is our price, and our training is very real and efficient. Now, a lot of schools charge between $170 and $200 a month for one student. We're $65 a month for one, and $70 for a family. Mother and daughter can go. So the price is low, and that was the goal. So the reason I'm telling you about the martial art end of it, because the police work and the martial arts all tie into this book.
Okay.
So
all right, we're gonna get to the book. I want to throw out a few names to you because you're talking about martial arts and you're talking about special effects, and I'm going to throw out Roy Wetzel. Do you remember that name, Roy Wetzel?
Yes. Actually, Grant Miller knew him well.
Okay.
Yeah, he was friends with him.
And,
but I remember him. I met him before, yeah.
Okay, that's the martial arts end of things. Sam and Frankie Nicotero. Frank Nicotero from the Ambridge area. He did a lot of special effects makeup in Hollywood over the years.
Okay, yeah.
And Sam was a well-known radio person for many years.
I remember hearing the names, and I probably followed him at one point. Tom Savini was the one that always.
Okay.
Well, that was
Right.
the guy, man. I mean, in fact, when I
Sure.
was graduated, I almost went. I was thinking it was in California. It was a makeup monster school. Tom Savini was
Yes.
the guy, you know.
Yeah.
In the Art Institute, Tom Savini would come in there and work with students. So I was thinking about joining that or entering those schools, but I never did.
Yeah.
But
so let's bring in the book, because the book is called Dead Adrenaline.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of what special would be if it was a movie, special effects and a whole lot of other things, aliens, spaceships, and
Zombies.
all that stuff.
actually, zombies are walking amongst us now. But
I know.
I figured I'd put them in the book.
Yeah. He comes
So-
in at about 7:30 every morning as a zombie.
Oh, does he? His name's not Eddie, is it? No.
Tell us about the book, because it's
Okay.
been out since July, you said, of last year?
Yeah, June of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a couple days at the end of June into July. Yeah, exactly. So all this stuff that I did, like up to this point, I was 53 last year. I just turned 54.
Just a youngster.
Yeah, I'm young, right? Right. So I said, I'd like to put stuff on paper. I'd like to write a book.
Yeah.
And the name came to me immediately, Dead Adrenaline. I'm like, okay, this is going to be something with the zombie type of genre.
Okay.
But I got to get this stuff and get it down on paper. So I started working on it, and just so happened, and this is luck of the draw, I met a guy who did martial arts, and this guy was also a writer. So he had a background in it. He had published some books, and I'm thinking, well, good. So I started writing some chapters to him, and I started sending them because he moved to South Carolina. And he was reading them. He's like, you got to continue with this. Just keep writing, keep writing, keep writing. So I did. I kept writing, and when I got the book totally done, I sent him the whole thing, and he read it, and he's like, it's really good. And I go, you're not just saying that because you know me and all that. He said, no, you need to get this published. So I took the appropriate steps. I got it copyrighted. I got my own ISBN number. And then I went to Amazon, and I ended up getting it published there. Now, I can sell this book anywhere because I have my own ISBN number.
Okay.
And the book came together. If you're a fan of science fiction, you like horror, you like action, adventure, martial arts. And here's the thing. There's martial arts in this book, but the martial arts are described in a really descriptive way. And they're actual real techniques.
Okay.
Like they're not just stuff made up,
Yeah.
They're actually techniques that you could actually do, that are in the book. So there's a background of that. There's a background, this whole thing where, I couldn't make a movie, so I'm going to write a book. And this book would be an excellent movie.
It sounds like it would be. And in terms of the dialogue in the book and everything, if you didn't know martial arts, if you didn't know zombies and all the things you know through your research, would you be able to follow it?
You would totally understand it because it's very descriptive. In fact, in the book, I have some of the stuff written in Japanese. And some of it, in English, so people understand exactly what it is. So they know, okay, that's what he means. It's so descriptive. Everybody knows what a punch to the face is or a kick to the throat is. They pretty much understand that, the reaction. So,
well, as I remember the last time we spoke, in the book, people from Beaver County would certainly recognize some of the places that you talk about here.
Yes, within the book, there are businesses. Rosalind Candy Castle's in it.
Right.
Mary Jane's Pizza, they moved, but they used to be
They've
right
been
there
in Monaca.
in Monaca. Really good pizza. Yeah, there's tons of Black Ship Grooming Company's mentioned in there. In fact, this is a shaving cream from Black Ship Grooming Company.
Oh, okay.
My buddy got together with me, and we kind of worked together on it. And
Grooming.
it's for sale on his website at Black Ship Grooming Company, along with gift sets with the book and such.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So you're putting a package together.
Yeah, a package deal, so you could get them. This is one character, a cleaning witch from the book, so who knows, there might be other ones.
We can hold it up there so people can see it. That's a pretty interesting cover, and you just put it on and shave. It's shaving cream.
We had the Music Garden in New Brighton.
Oh, yes.
It used to be Jerry Reed Music Studio.
Yes.
So, there's lots of different businesses in the book. And I'm writing a second book, and I'm almost done with it, actually, and there's lots of businesses in that book.
Okay.
And incidentally, the radio station is in that.
I heard
next,
that, yeah.
Next book. I got permission, luckily. The big organization was able to say,
Right.
hey.
St. Barnabas said, okay, go ahead.
So it's really cool.
Good. It could be turned into the Night of the Living Dead with Bill Cardell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because in this book there's a mention of Bill Cardell.
Is there really?
Yeah,
From Night of the Living Dead.
There's references and stuff.
Yeah.
In this book there's references to movies.
Uh-huh.
So like if
Did you see Night of the Living Dead? Is that an inspiration for you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, I love zombie genres. Absolutely. Walking Dead. If
Yeah.
you're a fan of Walking Dead or that type of genre, you're going to love this book.
Yeah.
But then if you're somebody that's like, okay, I like some of the zombie type stuff, all of a sudden, boom, it shifts into another gear. You know, you get a little bit of science fiction, get a lot of science fiction, you get a little bit of time travel, you get a lot of time travel. So there's a lot of things that happen, and time travel is a tough thing to do in a book, but it's done just in a way where people are like, okay, that's cool, I can understand that. That makes sense.
Some people believe that it actually occurs, that you could time travel.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know.
Well, you don't. And tell me about more about the new book that you're going to have Beaver County Radio as part of it, and a curmudgeonly announcer that is more or less going to be the Bill Cardell. In the
book.
sequence. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I have yet to talk to Eddie totally about this, but I have to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
And,
What?
So, hi, Eddie.
Hi. Hi,
So-
officer.
So what I want to do is the radio station's in the book. Well, the hero in the book, whoever that hero may be, has to break into the radio station.
Okay.
And he has to get into the radio station, and he has to make an announcement to let the people of Beaver County say, hey, there's an invasion coming across the path.
Okay.
There's a takeover, kind of like Orson Welles and War of the Worlds.
right.
Some people thought it was for real. In this case, it is for real. But I figure when the hero breaks in, he finds Eddie Crow here. He blocked himself in. He locked himself in. He went to the radio station early. He saw all the DA stuff hitting the fan, and he said, you know what, I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to get myself ready, and when the power comes on, I'm going to make an announcement. The hero comes in. He's like, you got to make this announcement. He tells them exactly what to tell the people to give them a better chance to survive. And who better than Eddie Crow to make the announcement?
I can't. Does he
Besides
die?
Mike Roma,
Does he
right?
die in the end?
Do I die? I'm totally cool with that.
It remains to be seen, but he's going to do something heroic, right? Okay. You know, and
I thought you were looking for a consultant, how to break into a radio station. I'm your guy.
But I figure, you know, if it ever becomes an audio book,
Right.
he can do the audio
Oh,
part.
I think
right.
if he's on board.
I think it's got movie written all over it.
Yeah, exactly,
I think so. Sounds like it. So,
But I mean, do I get permission? I'm going to get it on the radio, but we'll talk later.
Go for it, man. Absolutely.
yeah.
I've been associated with far worse than literature.
Right.
In terms of the book, the second book, a spinoff of the first book, are you building on the theme of the first book?
So I always tell people, if you buy the second book, read the last chapter of the first book.
Okay.
And if you read the last chapter of it, I mean, you want to read the whole book. You want to know it. But like, if you've read this book, you're like, okay, I want to read a refresher. It picks up right where that book ends.
Okay.
And like I said, the ending in this book will blow your mind. You're going to be like, whoa.
Okay.
And then you're going to want more, because that's pretty much what most people that have read it, and most of the reviews I got, I'm getting a lot of reviews on Amazon where they're like, when's the next book? You know, they're all into it. So it picks it up. But it's a little bit different in a sense that I would say that the science fiction is jacked up a couple notches. This the horror is even more vicious, and it's one of those books that when you read it, you're going to be like, I don't know if it's better than the first, but I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah,
you know?
being more graphic with all the stuff in there. Well, that sounds great. And do you have a publishing date set, or are you still working on the final chapters?
I'm still working on it. You know, just when you think, oh, I can release it now or this time, or you're like, oh, I got to do this yet. I got to do that yet. So I don't really want to. I would say if I'm lucky enough, I can get it out here in the next couple months, but who knows? Maybe it'll be right towards the end of the year.
And what are your reviewers and your fans saying about it?
Well, a lot of the people were like, if they're like, this is one of the best science fiction books they've ever read, because it's science fiction, but then it has enough for that person that likes the zombie genre.
Sure.
And then it has enough for that person that loves the action adventure. And then if you're a fan of martial arts or not, you're going to like the fight scenes, and you're going to be like rooting for the hero.
Right.
And there's a little bit like, I say this, but people won't believe it until they read it. And maybe I'm wrong about it, but there's a little bit of emotion that comes through the character. Like you're rooting for him, but you understand he's a little bit, I don't want to say crazy, but he goes to places of peace, nostalgia, things from his childhood to help save him from the violence that's going on in front of him.
Excellent. Sounds great. I'm sure you'll be back to tell us about it when the book comes out.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie invited me on his show again
Well,
to talk about the second book.
All right.
But
You're set.
You know,
All right. Clint Kurtika, the book is Dead Adrenaline. Look for others coming our way. And the shaving cream, what's it called again?
It's the Cleaning Witch, Black Ship Grooming Company.
Okay. Very good.
It smells phenomenal. My face had never smelled pretty. I've already used it up, mine.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
has a
I've
good
never
smell.
smelled prettier in my life.
This is the
a
best
man-
of
it's a man
Beaver.
scent.
It's a man scent. It's a manly scent. He's a manly man. Clint Kurtika is our guest on the Best of Beaver County. I'm Mike Roma. Thank you for listening and watching on Facebook Live. Brought to you by the St. Barnabas Radio Network.
Thank you for listening to the Best of Beaver County. St. Barnabas is pleased to have provided content and sponsorship for the program. Tune in this Sunday at 11:30 for an encore presentation of today's program on Beaver County Radio. And next Thursday at 11 for another edition of the Best of Beaver County on WBVP, WMBA, and 99.3 FM. Beaver County Radio's news source, 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP.